But Coach Tom was actually begging to get onto the podcast.
You name it, I do it.
Yeah, but they did actually win, but I felt like I could still mug them off. I always used to hate it when I was coaching, is when a parent would try and coach from the sidelines. I've come across so many coaches over the years who will go, oh, it's really tough because 3 of these kids don't want to be there.
What can I do to get these children involved?
Yeah. It's almost like you're in an interview here, isn't it?
Yeah. There was a couple of children that just wanted to run away. I've never been in a situation before. Can I have some guidance?
Yeah. Hello everybody and welcome back to another Let's Talk uSports podcast. This is the podcast where we as sports coaches, as PE teachers come together to talk about the sector. Now normally I do this podcast on my own, but Coach Tom was actually begging to get onto the podcast. He couldn't wait to get on. Actually, I asked him very, very nicely and he kindly agreed. So Coach Tom is a coach with uSports. How long have you been with uSports now?
Coming up to 2 years now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
2 years in July.
But you deliver like all of our different types of sessions, nurseries, lunch clubs, holiday camps.
You name it, I do it.
Yeah. But I thought it'd be good to bring Tom onto the podcast because for me, I'm more like managing and leading the business, and a lot of that is more office based and not actually working with the kids on the ground. And so I think Tom can bring in that side of it where you literally work with the kids all day, every day.
Yeah, so, perfect. Sounds good.
So yeah, do you want to just talk to me about why you enjoy the role as a sports coach?
Yeah, so I actually finished college nearly 3 years ago now, and you came down to BCA and put on a session. I enjoyed it and I signed up through the website, I think, just to get through to you and to see what it's all about. Yeah, really enjoyed it, had an interview with you and I wanted to get on board as soon as I could, so that started from there really. No, it's good. And
I think any good sports coach, any good PE teacher, like everyone will understand that everyone starts from somewhere.
Absolutely,
So there might be some people listening to this podcast who have been in the sector for like 30, 40 years, and there'll be others who are like just starting their experience. So for you, actually, as a new coach, would you say there's any advice that you would give to a sports coach who's maybe they're only doing 1 or 2 hours a week at the moment? Any advice you give someone like that?
So I think starting off, you just got to be really polite, respectful, confident as well. Like you start off quite shy, like I did, but then confidence grows within weeks. Yeah. The more sessions you do, the better, because then that confidence does grow. Yeah. And being really open and honest to the office staff, saying, "Oh, I'm not sure how to do this session, so would I be able to have some help?" Yeah. So I think being able to have that honesty and that openness would just really help someone being a new sports coach. Yeah, definitely. Do you want to tell us, we'll come back to you to sports coach, but do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself outside of coaching? Yeah, so I don't know where to start. I know
uSports is mainly your life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I play football. I've been playing football since I was 3 years old. Yeah. So they managed to set up at Binfield a toddler football session. Yeah. So I started that, and now I'm nearly 20, so I've been playing football for technically 17 years now. Yeah,
big part of your life.
I can't get away from it. So I've got a really big sports background. All my family plays sport. My uncle played cricket at a really high level, so he played England under 17. So
really?
Yeah, sport all round really.
Yeah, so just love sport. Do you watch a lot of sport as well?
Watch all the sports. Yeah.
Did you see me mugging off the Man U fans?
I did,
in the office on the weekly.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Well, they did actually win, but I felt like I could still mug them off because they were just it was just such a poor performance.
Yeah, Coventry should have taken the lead. So
did you see Arsenal Tottenham?
I didn't. No, that was one of the games that I didn't watch. Unfortunately.
Arsenal 3-0 up. Yeah, and then Tottenham made it 3-1 with a howler from the goalkeeper. Just gave it to the player and he scored, and then penalty. And then, it was such an exciting last 10 minutes of the game.
I can imagine,
Who do you support?
I'm a Southampton fan myself.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah, so I've watched Southampton go from League One all the way up to the Premier League. Yeah. And then back down as Championship, unfortunately.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not as bad as Reading, where they then go
hopefully not.
into League One and nearly into League Two.
Fingers crossed it's not like that.
No, it's good. Okay, so like I said, I'm keen to bring you on because you actually bring value in terms of the understanding of what it's like on the ground. What would you say at the moment are the biggest challenges sports educators are facing on the ground at the moment?
I think because of how popular it is to bring in an outside company to get into schools to put on the PE sessions, I think a lot of schools are taking a chance to just find the first company that pops up. So, for example, if there's a smaller company that has said, "Oh, we're really good at this," and they put on a session, but actually throughout the next few weeks, it might just be the same session week in, week out.
Yeah.
So I think having that professionalism and like actually going through different sports companies to get us into the school would like be a better decision.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah. And like sometimes we benefit from that, and sometimes but like I know exactly what you mean. We'll just be like out the blue get contacted by a school. Fair enough if they've been recommended by another school, but like sometimes they'll just find us, book us in, and we off we go. And I think actually they maybe are quite lucky because with us we know we do all our checks properly, all our coaches are mentored and all that. But if you happen to do that and find another coaching company that don't do their DBS checks and don't actually have qualified staff, then I see what you mean. In terms of if people who are delivering PE lessons right now and working with the children, 30 kids in a hall, what sort of challenges would you expect children to coaches and teachers to be faced with in that situation at the moment?
I've seen, because of obviously there's loads of different schools that I'm at. Yeah. So I think I'm at 4 different schools a week.
Okay.
And all the schools are different. Like the behaviour's different. So for some cases, there'll be a TA with you. Yeah. And then sometimes there's not. So if you have a class of 30 children, and then you have that group of 4 or 5 children maybe at a push that are just misbehaving, then you can speak to a TA. But if not, you're catching in rather than catching out. Yeah. So say, oh, this child's doing really well. Something that you taught me actually. Yeah. This child's doing really well, and then they're like, oh, I want to be recognised for doing something good.
Yeah. So is that one of your main techniques?
Yeah, that's one of my main techniques. Yeah. So
do you? I mean, you've only been coaching for like 2 years, but do you feel like you've seen behaviour, or like any impact from COVID? Do you feel like behaviour's been worse or better, or have you seen any sort of
so
like that?
Especially in the younger years, I think they're a little bit more temperamental. So I think because they didn't have that, so for example year 2, because they didn't have that the first 3 years of development, then it's sort of like I think they just want to try and do it as best they can, but they're not sure how to. It's a shame really, because sometimes in different schools they have different like problems, so like different behavioural issues. But yeah, so I think that first 3 years of development is probably the most important. So
there's like I think I spoke about it on the podcast already, but like between 3 years old and 7 years old is like that key time to learn. So those kids that were maybe during COVID, some kids were out with their parents being really active and still like developing physically, whereas others might have been a lot more static than they would have been had they have been at school. And then do you then see that creeping in, that like you say a year 3 or year 4 now was one of those children in reception or younger who maybe didn't have that same experience that we would have got before. What do you think about the perception of sport from parents and the parents that you interact with? Do you feel like they highly value it and they really see that? Obviously every parent's different, so it's a bit of a tough question, but what sort of perception do you see of sport from parents?
So the only parents I really interact with is the ones at toddler football on a Sunday morning. But they're always encouraging their children to come along, get involved. And it really helps because especially for the 4 to 6 year old session, the parents sort of stay to one side and say, oh, go and try it on your own. And I think that's really important, especially for their development as well. They're learning how to be independent.
And that's something I always used to hate when I was coaching, is when a parent would try and coach from the sidelines, and it's
Absolutely.
like like when a parent shouts shoot, and then sometimes the kid shoots, they score, and the parents like, oh, well done, you know, but actually that kid didn't make that decision for themselves. So then when the parent's not there, they come into PE or whatever, and the parent's not there, and nobody's telling them what to do. Then they can get
100%
lost
agree.
a little bit. But yeah, and then obviously holiday camps. You do a lot of work at holiday camps. Do you find how do you find the kids deal with a 6-hour day of sport like we do?
So I think they love it really, because you get pretty much all the kids that are there want to be there as well. Yeah, which is really good. Yeah. So for example, I was at the Bracknell Multi-Sports Camp, and all the kids wanted to be there. They had loads of fun. Not one of them said, "Oh, I want to speak to my mum or dad." Yeah. They really enjoyed the day and just got on with it really, and they behaved themselves as well. So
you say about like wanting to be there. I've come across so many coaches over the years who will go, "Oh, it's really tough because these, you know, 3 of these kids don't want to be there. They're just there for childcare, right?" I don't know about you. My perception on that is, okay, they might not have like said to mum and dad, "Oh, can I go on to the basketball after school club?" But but I still don't really see that as an excuse from a coach.
I don't see it as an excuse either.
And I know I can see from a lazy side, I guess I can sort of see it like, oh, they didn't want to be there, so they're badly behaved. But I feel like really good educators make it amazing, so they have a really good time.
So I think that's where you just got to be adaptable. Yeah. And just think on your feet and just be like, right, what can I do to get these children involved? Yeah. Even if it's like, reffing a match or something. Yeah. Like getting them to like feel included.
I think sometimes you get I see it just where a teacher or a coach might just go, you know, why don't you just they let the kid drift away from the session, and before you know it, the kid's been picking bark for like 5 minutes on a trim track. It's like, I feel like we could have done something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So definitely see that. Moving on, what do you think one of the biggest challenges is that you've had like a certain situation? It's almost like you're in an interview here, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the biggest like challenge that you found yourself in a PE lesson? Have you ever, or after school club or whatever, like it's just a certain situation? I can start if it helps.
Go on. I'll have a think.
And mine was when I was brand new to coaching, and I'd been thrown in, having not been mentored, not really been given any training. Right. And it was basketball. No, it was badminton, and I let the kids do like a crazy running activity and as a warm up in a sports hall. Right. And 2 kids just like hit heads, and then there's like a big nosebleed, no adults around. I had like 12 kids, and just blood going everywhere in the sports hall. I had no idea what to do. I had to leave the kids on their own. Had to and this was about 10 years ago, and I remember it was literally one of my first sessions, and I definitely didn't deal with it in the right way. Yeah. But I also say, look back at that and go, well, as a coach, I hadn't really been given the experience to know what to do with it. So I think there's probably still blood on the on that.
I think if you look back at it now, and as long as you've learnt from it, then that's the main thing. Yeah. So like you can look back and say, I could have done this better. Yeah. I did this well. Like you got to think of the positives as well, rather than just look at the negatives.
Is there anything like that you? I think difficult situation you found yourself in, but you can't blame your boss.
The only difficult situation I was in was at a holiday camp actually. Yeah. And there was a couple of children that just wanted to like run away. So
literally like wanted to run
out to get out of the gates venue. And so what I did is I called our camp manager at Cat up straight away. Yeah. I just said, look, here's what's happening. Can I have some guidance of what to do? Because I think that was my first big camp. Yeah. Site managing. Yeah. So I just sort of called Kat up and I was like, Kat, I've never been in a situation before. Can I have some guidance? Yeah. She was like, yeah, that's fine. Just try and de-escalate the situation. Yeah. And just try and chat to them.
I think our listeners will even like I say, it could be somebody listening 30 years experience. I think they'll still find themselves going into new situations, but hopefully they can draw on more of the experiences they've had to be able to deal with that. But you and I both know that we're still going to be given like situations we've never found ourselves in.
100%.
So like the first time in a session where a kid wets themselves, at some point a coach has never dealt with that before, and it's like a massive panic. And then at other times, then once it's happened a few times, you know what to do and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's pretty cool. What would you say is the like one of the biggest highlights that you've had as a coach, as a educator?
I think it's not one specific highlight. I think it's just in general, just seeing the children's development.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest highlight that I've had working from the start of midway through summer in 2021 to now. Yeah. 2022, sorry.
Yeah. But it's like that light bulb moment when you see a kid like, you know, I loved coaching triple jump for that reason, because like you're going to say the same thing.
I'm going to say the same thing.
Because you do see it. You see like kids just genuinely can't do it at the start.
Yeah, they just keep stepping and
and they like hop. It's just as a coach, you're like, it's just hop, skip, jump. Come on, please. But you're right. You like a good coach can really break it down, slow it down.
Absolutely.
And then half an hour later, they can now do something like they can most likely do that for the rest of their life. They'll be able to have that coordination to do it.
That leads me on to my next thing.
Yeah.
So I was at a school and we were learning the triple jump. So it's 6 weeks of athletics.
Yeah.
So I've done 2 weeks of jumping, and I'm going to go on to 2 weeks of running, and then 2 weeks of throwing.
Okay.
And then I think, is it a long term this term?
Yeah, it's like
then
7 or 8 weeks.
Then I can do the last 2 lessons of like everything intertwined.
Yep.
So we've just done triple jump as well. So we started off with literally just hopping, getting the basics going, and then so that's step 1. Step 2 is hopping and then stepping.
Yeah.
That's from standing. So that's step 2, and then add a jump at the end.
Yeah.
And the kids, they got the hang of it straight away. I think just breaking it down into those 3 simple steps is just, it makes life so much easier.
Yeah, and they just need to, and the kids want to just like, I've seen it, I'm just going to go and do it 100%.
Yeah.
And I love the enthusiasm sometimes, but it's like they never actually learn how to do it properly.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're just like run, and then they jump. Yeah. They don't do the hop, skip, and the jump.
Yeah,
they just do the step, and jump.
No, that's good. I think for me, probably one of my highlights as I look back would probably be like I had it coaching a grassroots team, and I've been working with this team. I'd taken over from a dad who was coaching.
Okay.
And, he wasn't doing like the best. It wasn't like giving fair playing time, and he wasn't like. And so I sort of came in, brought in my FA tutors like methods and sort of brought it all in. And over the 2 years, we won, but then we got to the cup final, and it was a cup final for like under 10s, under 11s, and I'm not all about winning, but I am about it's not like win at all costs, but you do play play to win. So when we got to this cup final, still like equal playing time, didn't matter who they were, all the kids had a fair amount of time, they all got to play where they wanted to, and then in the final we then won using that. Wow. I don't know, like for me that was just a
that's a good experience,
especially when you work with a group of kids for like 2 years. You can you really see that longer term development of them. And now I see like some of them are coming to work for us. Like I've been in this too long now. So,
so that leads me back to the development centre on a Thursday night. So I've been there since I started with uSports, really. So I used to have the younger group, and now I take the older group. And every time I looked over at the older group, there's just like, there were some good players in there, but the first time I went there, it was like, okay, not fantastic, not a fantastic standard, but the coaching was good because we do a good job. And then when I took over from Kieran, I just saw loads of development. New players coming in, new players going out to go and find grassroots teams. I think I remember one kid. I think he plays for Reading now. He's a really good player.
Yeah, you just see that development, and
he was our best player by far. So it's sad to see him go. But
other than football, I don't even know if football would be your first point, but other than football, what's your favourite sport to teach?
Ooh, favourite sport to teach? Probably athletics, to be fair.
Is it?
Yeah, so in athletics, I think you can be really adaptable with it. Maybe dodgeball as well.
Do you?
Dodgeball, they all love dodgeball.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, the kids do love dodgeball.
But yeah, athletics, probably maybe cricket as well.
Yeah.
The cricket, there's a few good games in cricket that we always play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I love a lot of sports really. Teaching them.
And because I started like doing football and I like FA level 1, level 2, UEFA B, and really went down the foot. And I loved football. I still do love football, but doing sport and doing a different sport.
Yeah.
Like, you know, your days must be so varied. Like, you go and do a breakfast club and it's a netball breakfast club, and then you go to a nursery session and
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like and it's I always talk about having lots of different hats. So you got to have your nursery hat and you put that on and you're being all silly and you're going through the jungle and all that sort of.
Absolutely.
And then you take that off and you go to a lunch club with 11-year-olds and it's more about like making sure that
technical.
More technical. And then you go to a PE lesson with year 3s and it's another hat that goes on. It's just like constant. And I think for good educators, you need to be able to be adaptable.
Definitely. I think being adaptable is probably one of the the best skill to have.
Yeah.
So say you're at a nursery, starts off with bright sunshine, it just absolutely chucks it down out of nowhere. Then you realise you're in a space that's not very big at all, and you just got to think on your feet to do something with the kids, really. So yeah. If
you can adapt, I think you're going to be a good educator.
Absolutely.
Like you say, you can plan to some extent, but you can't plan that a kid is going to say this or do that, or like the weather turns, or
100%.
You think you're going to be in the hall, and then you turn up and the drama production is in the hall, so you got to do your dance lesson somewhere else, or whatever it is. But conscious of time, and I feel like we could sit here and talk about sports all day.
Absolutely, ages.
Yeah, honestly, thank you so much for coming on.
No
I think,
worries at all.
it'd be interesting to see what the listeners how they find it.
Yeah.
I know you are one of our listeners, so you can give us a like.
Absolutely.
But yeah, if you are listening to these podcasts and you're enjoying them, please do like, comment, subscribe. This is Coach Tom. Give Coach Tom a big old like. Give him a big comment as well. But yeah, thank you everybody for listening into today's podcast. And if you want to see more where we bring on guests and other coaches in the business, let us know. If you want Coach Tom back, let us know as well. But yeah, thanks again, mate.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.